That'll do. It's the hard times that make the good times better. Today's show is a good one. We're going to go along with a young man and see his trials and tribulations and see him rise up from the hard times and get his first big buck on public land. Come on, let's go watch the show. I'm here today with Jacob Sklenar. You live over by Pewaukee, right?
Yep.
So that's just down the street from me. Caught my eye. He's doing a lot of cool things hunting.
Thank
you. Got yourself a nice buck.
Yeah. We went out to college in Platteville area, and we were hunting some public land out there, and kind of rut. It was like November 7th, and we had been on some nice bucks all season and really patterned some areas using trail cameras, and figured that this was going to be a really hot spot come the rut, and it ended up being great.
How long you been hunting?
All my life, honestly. I've been hunting everything. I've been hunting pheasants, ducks, deer. I've been hunting since I was probably 8 years old, and I've probably been beast out hunting like 4 years.
I can't remember a time when I wasn't hunting.
Yeah, honestly.
I think some people that's in your blood, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Platteville's a little bit of a drive. Was it 2 hours?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours. But,
yeah, I've hunted out there.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful area.
Like Grant County?
Yeah, Grant County. Yeah, there's a few areas in Grant, Iowa County, Lafayette that we go out there, and it's amazing. You can go out for an early morning, and there's fog in these like deep ravines, and it looks like you're out west, and you can go trout fishing and everything afterward, and it's just.
Did you go to college out there?
Yeah.
So
is
that how you ended up out there?
Yeah, so
I know that's got the big college out there.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a senior at Platteville, and I study mechanical engineering, and I'm a wrestler as well. Yeah.
Cool.
So
I'm kind of along with Mario well.
Yeah. I was gonna say I know Mario's a wrestler, but
we're doing a lot of mechanical engineering.
I was gonna say I'd love to help you out anytime, even if it's just like assembly or anything. I'd do it for free. And
that's good to know. And Mario's a big wrestler.
Yeah. I know you said he was really good in high school. I know he doesn't like to brag about that.
Lead me into this hunt. Tell me what happened.
So it was, like I said, it was November 7th. It was like 72 degrees, 74 degrees, and we had a south wind. So it was just blowing hot air the whole time. And I had a bunch of buddies say, like, hey, screw this. Like, let's, like, do something else. Let's go hunt something else. Like, there's no deer that's going to be moving. And I brought up my buddy who was also a wrestler from Pewaukee, and I invited him out. And he was staying the weekend, so I was like, there's no way we're not deer hunting, you know, and you know, we got areas we can hunt. So I was set up on the north side of a doe bedding area.
You go back a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting stuff that happened before your hunt, wasn't there?
Yeah, so there was a unfortunate series of events. During practice, my buddy accidentally trapped my arm and returned me to the mat, so he lifted me up, threw me down, and landed on the back of my shoulder, and I fractured my collarbone like right here. And so my coach was like, man, you're gonna be out for almost a month. And the first thing I did was go back to my house and try drawing my bow, and I'm just cranking it like this. I could barely get it up, but I was able to draw, so I was like, you know, one shot will be good. And later on that week, we were driving to practice, and the back of my tailgate of my truck pops open, and outside's my best friend's bow and my bow, and lands behind us. Well, we realized something was wrong when we got to the place, and the tailgate's open, the bows are gone. So we thought someone stole it naturally, but it rolled out, and apparently as I was leaving, I had like a bunch of witnesses say that some lady pulled over, picked him up, and drove off with him and threw him in her truck. And I wouldn't call it stealing, but the police said that, like, because all my name and information was in there, we had a Facebook post that had like 200 shares and reached the whole, you know, whole south area of Wisconsin, looking for, you know, this lady. And, you know, obviously you find a great bow on the ground, you're gonna grab it. Like,
no, I'd call it theft, because I would, if I found a bow, I would call the police at least in that area and say, hey, anybody looking for a bow? Right,
and that's why they say, you know, you know, she if she would have turned it in, or if she would have been caught, they said it would have been a felony charge. You know, it would have been felony theft. Like, the police there were phenomenal. Like, they're great guys. You know, they don't deal with that kind of stuff often. It's funny you mentioned that too, because like the main thing that they said they get stolen out there is hunting equipment, and they said they had like 100 traps stolen like the week of or whatever. But basically, like, you know, you talk to everyone, you make this Facebook post, and you see just an incredible outreach like all over Wisconsin. Like, of course your family shares it, but total strangers like offering to help me out, people offering me bows for the season, and it was remarkable, like, to see everyone come together. So it's like, you know, you get crushed by losing a bow that's, you know, was my grandpa's bow.
Often you only see the bad on Facebook and
That's
stuff,
yeah.
but really there are a lot of good people out there.
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy how something bad happening can bring it out too. Like that, you just see there's amazing people everywhere. And, you know, I got what we said the whole time. I got the one in probably the whole town that wouldn't have called or wouldn't have turned it in.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I ended up having Lancaster Archery in Dubuque, or sorry, Tri-State Archery in Dubuque, reached out to me, and they said, hey, you want to borrow a bow? Like, we'll give you and your friend a bow for the season. And I got this old Bear Archery bow, and just whisker biscuit and everything. Like, just it was an old bow, but you know, I'd been preaching all summer like it's not the bow, it's a shooter.
Right.
And I'd shot probably.
Now you get to practice that.
Yeah, I was like, I shot probably 50 to 100 shots a day, every day, and I was trying to get in shape for wrestling, so I'd wake up at 4 a.m., I'd go for a run, I'd lift, and then I'd shoot my bow. And that run and lift beforehand is my jitters for when I got a big buck in front of me. And so, you know, I'd been used to this, and I said, well, now is the time, you know, I really get to put it into play. And, you know, the opportunity came, and we took advantage of it. We actually, you know, the bow was lent to us the week before November 7th, so about November 1st.
So you had a week to shoot the thing,
Yeah.
get used to it.
Yeah,
Did it fit you well?
Yeah, it fit me well. They were super nice. They got it all fit up for me. They gave me a few free arrows, free broadheads, and I had my my truck engine completely break down. I paid like $2,000 to replace the engine just before, and it was like,
So your engine broke too? I mean,
I was like, I cannot afford a bow right now. Like it's gonna be until probably right now where we're standing. What is it? You know, July 24th.
Yeah.
Like this was the first time I'll be able to afford
your
another
luck
bow.
needed to change.
Yeah, and so it did, and honestly, you know, I could have sat there and felt down for myself and just kind of been like, that's a season, you know, like, you know, my collarbone hurts, you know, like my bow's gone. I don't know if I'm going to shoot this other bow. I could feel sorry for myself, or, you know, I could get that wrestling mentality, and I could be like, you know, get after it, and
Right, just because somebody schools you in wrestling, you don't quit.
yeah, absolutely. And you don't get better unless they do. Really, it's
Right.
like, you know, you're not going to start finding deer on public land until you get busted a few times.
Right, and I've learned over the time that for me, that stuff that goes wrong just motivates me more.
Oh, yeah.
You see people it destroys,
Oh,
but guys like yourself who wrestle, who have to understand that you motivate yourself with if you want to call it failure. I don't call it failure because
it's a learning opportunity.
you're right, it's a learning opportunity, but you motivate yourself with that, and you move forward. And that stuff makes me stronger because it makes me say, not me,
Yeah.
not on my watch. I'm getting it done, and it sounds like you're the same kind of guy.
Yeah, our coach always says it's a great opportunity to get tough.
Right?
So you know, we'll go through injuries, and he's like, you can pretty much say that about anything in the world. Is like, you know, obviously everything we talked about, like injuries, there's a lot that just weighs on your mental, and it's crazy because everyone thinks wrestlers are these big, strong, burly guys that, you know, it's about being dominant physically, but it's a lot about the mental side, and that's why you see, you know, people first start wrestling, they can't take it, is because it's you versus the other person. It's the preparation you put in versus what they did. And if they beat you, it's because they worked harder than you. And no one comes to that realization anymore in life. Like, if you fail, there's always 100 different reasons why, and 100 different excuses why these days. And if you fail in wrestling, it's because you did not do something right, and that's it. And so
it's just like when you watch Ultimate Fights and stuff like that.
Yep.
You see guys that when they're hitting the nose, it's over.
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy lost. And you see guys that get their nose broke and just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the guys who win repeatedly over and over and over again.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a bunch of stories about one guy that was he's now a UFC champion, was kicked off after like 2 losses, and he fought back, and like one of his first wins back, like I think it was like 2015 or 14. He said like someday I'm gonna be a champion. The crowd almost laughed at him, and now he's a champion. He beat one of the baddest dudes on the earth, and it's just like it's the same way with life and hunting. You know, like that's what I love about hunting. And like I always said, my friends thought I was stupid for this, but I wanted to make my first big buck on public land because, you know, largely in part because of you. I mean, I wanted to get it done, but I wanted to challenge myself. And so we had guys that I had getting private land permission just for my friends, and some guys were shooting. Like a guy 2 years before shot like a 183 or something like that next door to some public land. And he was like, man, you guys can hunt at any time. And I was like, well, I'll let my friends take up that offer. I was like, I'm going to get this first one done in public for sure. And I'm really happy I did, honestly. And to say that, you know, I had all these things that could have stopped me, but, you know, I kept it going and got it done, finished out the goal. I think I'm pretty hooked. I don't even know if there's a way I'm gonna switch from it anyways now. But
So how was your history of hunting up until with whitetails up until this hunt?
so my dad taught me a bit about hunting. I think the biggest thing he ever did was show me the Blood Brothers Outdoors DVDs. But he's a phenomenal guy. I'm very lucky he's been there for me, and he introduced me to hunting. We did mostly gun hunting up in northern Wisconsin. We go to like the Chequamegon National Forest, and we go to in like Nicolet and
Yeah, we've probably been on some of the same paths.
yeah. Let's say I introduced my buddy to that kind of public hunting this year, and we ended up getting a buck out of it. But he was a different experience for him, crossing wolf tracks and wolf kills and stuff like that. He was not a huge fan of that. But yeah, so he taught me a bit about hunting, like your bare bones and stuff like that. But the biggest thing he did was like introduce it in a way that just brought me passionate about it. Like he just built that fire inside of me just through, you know, making it a good experience and not, you know, pushing me to be this amazing killer or this guy that always killed stuff, but making sure I had fun. And you know, he taught me. I was the hunting dog when we were flushing pheasants and stuff like that. I would have a BB gun, practicing discipline and stuff like that. And
There's something to be said about that. You know, I notice a lot of young guys that become great hunters. There's one thing about those hunters when you look back at their history is that they didn't start out getting thrown in box blinds and with instant success. They had to earn it.
yeah,
And if you were hunting Nicolet National Forest in Chequamegon, or however you pronounce that,
yeah, right.
I could never pronounce that my whole life.
That's good enough.
But if that's where you're hunting, you are learning how to hunt, because that is not going to be instant success.
Oh, no, not at all.
No way.
And the thing is, I got to see my dad come to the point where he's like, "What the heck am I doing wrong?" Because we went to pop-up blinds on ridges. We went to tree stands separate. We went to like even trying like bait and stuff. And you know, I truthfully I shot my first deer over a corn pile, and you know, I love that experience. And like you say, like you got to have those years where you're not restricting yourself. You're free to,
Yep.
you know, do what you desire, no matter what it is that someone else might. And that was really interesting to see him come to the realization, like, man, I really don't have this down either. And you know, he's got great deer in the wall too. But it was cool to kind of negotiate those like literal hills and struggles together. And you know, I found a passion for it too, because you know, eventually I started recommending spots to him off of those hill country and marsh videos, and I started saying like, hey Dad, why don't you check out, you know, this transition. I was like, there's a really good thermal pull, and you can see where they go back to this field, and there's a total J-hook route coming in here. And I couldn't even hunt with him last year because of wrestling. And he ended up going to a spot, and they didn't see a deer all week, and then they saw two bucks right as they jumped up. I was like, you can't get too close to this area from what I'm seeing on the map, but there might be a deer there. Well, he goes to the area I shot my buck this year up there for gun season, and he jumped a few, and he was like, man, you gotta teach me a little more about that. And I was like, yeah, and the student's becoming the teacher for once. Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, my dad wasn't much of a hunter. I think he shot one buck in his life, and he was a meat person, you know, not a trophy hunter. And he looked to me to be the hunter and to supply meat. But I don't think he liked to kill.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, he was a soldier in his youth and stuff, and I think he had enough killing in his life.
Right. Yeah.
But he had some great methods for killing deer, because he always had advice. One of the ones I always laughed at was that he said that I needed to take a transistor radio. When I was a kid, everybody had radios.
Yeah.
You know, they'd carry them around and stuff. He said, take your radio and put it on a talk show, and put it and turn it up loud and put it on the top of the hill, and sit down at the bottom and wait for the deer to circle it, because they're curious animals. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go hunt the radio as bait.
That's funny. That's
And
kind
he
of
was mad as hell because I'd never do it.
that's
Like,
kind
I'm
of that's
not
kind of
doing it.
interesting though, because like, you know, how many times have you seen guys walking through the woods and then a deer is just kind of like mirroring them, or like, you know, keeping tabs on them? But
Now you're starting to sound like him.
right. Well, I mean, like you see the public access, like, you know, the guys right off the public access. You know, you got this deer sitting in some willow trees, and you know, you shove yourself up in the crotch of that willow tree and shoot a nice buck because they're watching the access. But you know, I probably wouldn't bring a radio out there because you're only adding pressure that's not even really there.
Right.
But
Lead me into this hunt. Tell me what happened.
so it was, like I said, it was November 7th. It was like 72 degrees, 74 degrees, and we had a south wind. So it was just
Alright
blowing.
guys, I'm gonna explain my setup here. Over here, we've got a large CRP field, and this thing kind of goes about in a bowl shape, so it goes around here, stretches up northward, and it kind of goes north, large bowl, like this, comes back, stretches back up north in a U shape with the highest point being in the middle, and it just kind of slowly drops down on all ends. So with this wind being the way it is, the southwest kind of wind, it's blowing across this large bowl. There's a squirrel freaking out next to me. It's blowing across this large bowl and dumping down into this corner. What's nice about that is down here, there's some ridges. Not a squirrel running. There are some ridges down here that get pretty steep. And on the other side, I swear to God, big freak out squirrel. Better not lose your mind. I'm trying to explain to these nice people what my spot setup is. These ridges have all sorts of sign on them, and it's really good sign. It's fresh sign, torn up trees. But I believe it's made at night. When this buck is cruising from his bedding out to here. So back here is a bed of a north-facing slope, and it's a little tiny prairie. It's kind of like a little bit of CRP, surrounded by thick covered woods. And when there's a south wind, that buck beds there. And this is the particular buck that's been absolutely ripping up trees. And I found a freaking 7-foot log scrape right next to one of his trees, so I'm sure he's been back here. Yeah, I found that this morning. Basically what's happening is this wind is pouring in from here, and the thermals are rising up from the back, up these ridges. And so, this buck in the afternoon, I was hoping to catch him do this in the morning, but I'm willing to wait till the afternoon, will walk in these pines, this low, thick cover. He'll be silent, he'll be unseen, and he'll walk along here, his rub line show it, and he'll either come out of the top side or the bottom side, so I can shoot to either. What he's doing is he's taking all of the wind coming from this hill, and he's using it to wind doe. There's does that bed in that CRP, and they bed in these pines, and he's basically going to work his way north of them, let the south wind push all of their scent to him, and he'll be able to wind many, many, many trails at one time. He'll be able to check everything in that CRP, and then he cruises up this edge as he goes to the field to feed and rut in the afternoon and the night. So basically his pattern is coming down along this in the afternoon, coming up here at night, getting all of his rut on whatever he feels like. And then in the mornings, he cruises down here, he rides really low on this ridge, comes around, avoids these pines, goes in the thick stuff back there, loops around those pines to wind for does yet again, catches that
is they would walk these pine rows and eventually come out and then hook up and actually touch all that doe bedding that they just winded. So it worked out like great. I had my buddy doing the same thing a couple ridges over, and you know, it wasn't CRP field, but you know, a thicket doe bedding, and he's downwind of it.
So what's the date?
November 7th.
Okay,
Yeah.
like peak rut.
Oh yeah, and it was so hot out. I'd been looking at Facebook. Well, you know, you look at Facebook posts; they're not always that true, but even guys on the forum saying like, don't even go out. You're just putting pressure in the woods. That, you know, you're putting your scent in the woods for when it's going to get cold again, and that cold snap's going to be amazing, but no one knows when it's coming. And it's like, you know, I'm going to get out in the woods because
Right.
you know, I got my buddy here, and so we went out there and we got in the setup, and we went till like 12:30 without seeing a deer, and it really, like, because, you know, my buddy's a first-time hunter, it really weighed on our minds. And I was like, man, this is what this should be doing. You know, we didn't catch him coming back to bed, but we're going to catch him cruising in the afternoon, and that's what we're here for. And sure enough, right at the time he's texting me saying he wants to switch up, I have a young, I think it was like a 6-point, come down down the first pine road just as planned, mouth open, totally dogging, looking for does. And then he turns up at 20 yards in my window and then heads right up the field. And I was like, that's a great sign.
There's a buck rut cruising right there. His mouth wide open. He's going after some does. Yep, he's winning all of that doe bed. That's cool. Hopefully his daddy comes over too.
And so I had 6 deer do that before I had any shooters, which is really typical for that
So it
area.
was all on a certain time frame, right?
Yeah, so it was like basically, it was like 1:30, and then right around 4 o'clock we had a window from like 4 to like 6:30, 7-ish, which was just golden. It was just the deer were moving, and the deer were doing exactly what we thought they would be doing, looking for does and stuff. And so I remember I got video on my phone of that buck before I got video on my camera of it, because I wanted to prove to him that deer were actually moving, because you know, they're looking at Facebook, they're like, everyone's saying there's no deer out right now. I'm like, they gotta move, you know, they're going to, it's rut. And so I got really good video of that, and I remember what the antlers look like that. And the second one I ended up getting with my camera, and the third one just kind of like sprung up on me. And so the third one goes where I'm at, and he cuts up, but instead of continuing up that CRP field, he cuts right down the ridge and starts heading towards the other doe bedding area. Well, it's so thick in there, I can't see that he's actually heading that way. And he ended up going right up to my friend, and I get a call at like, I want to say it's like 3 o'clock from my buddy, and he is shaking, shivering, buck fever, like going crazy. And as he's calling me, I hear like, just like loud crash, and I'm like, that deer just died like 100 yards from me. And he called me, and I was like, you just shot one, didn't you? And he's like, yep.
I'm sitting here. I told you, I said I thought he was going to come up from that ravine, try to get into thick stuff. Mouth open. He was walking towards me, got like, I don't know, I ranged that tree, and he came around at like 20, and he kept on walking. I would have gotten closer, but he turned broadside for a sec, and so I just gave him a mitt, and he stopped, pulled the trigger. I don't know if I put it too close to his shoulder, but the height was perfect, I think.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Oh my gosh.
He fuck bolted, but I thought I saw him crash. And I saw a ton of blood right away.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you hyped?
Dude, hold on. I'm shaking so bad.
That's awesome, bro.
So bad, bro. He fucking came in perfect.
That's so awesome, dude. You downwind of a bedding area.
Oh my god.
You hyped?
I'm so fucking hyped, bro. He just went down.
That's so.
We got him. Let's go.
That's awesome, bro. I'm so happy for you, dude. Did you see him? Did you see him go down?
I I thought I did.
Oh my god. I
don't
thought I
know.
heard chasing by me.
Maybe 100 yards just fucking full.
That's fine. We'll pick up. Do you see your arrow? Do your arrow pass through?
No, it's stuck in, which is why I thought I was in his shoulder.
It's stuck in. Ooh, that's tough. You know what? It's still good though. Did you hear a loud pop?
Yeah. I
Probably
think
the shoulder.
there's a lot of blood.
All right. Well, we'll give it till dark because Alex and I still gotta sit Worth, and you know he's not gonna go bad. He's only gonna get more dead. So you know if something didn't go well, giving it more time is good. Can you wait it out? Because I think I could potentially get a nice buck to pass me, and I really want Alex to get one really badly.
I mean, yeah, I can wait it out.
And got a bunch of audio of it, but he ended up drilling like a nice basket rack 8-point. It's like probably 2.5-year-old deer, and it was like for a first deer at all, doing it on public land, you know, and all the day that no one said go out, you know, and shooting a nice buck on top of it, he was thrilled. So my buddy Alex, he hadn't seen anything, and he's like, dude, why don't we just get down? Like we shot the deer, like Cam got his first deer, let's deal with that. And I was like, we got enough of a day left, you know, like we should make a hunt out of this. And so we kept sitting, and eventually a really nice, like pretty nice, like 8-point with split brow tines came.
Cam said he's coming right to him. Oh my gosh. That's a nice buck. Oh, there he goes down there. Going down there. That's a cool buck.
And he came, and he was just outside of range of me. And so November 7th, I'm thinking, man, it'd be a hard pass if this deer came by. And luckily he didn't. You know, I tried grunting at him, and he looked at me, and he wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And I knew he couldn't win me. But he's looking over there, and he's not seeing anything, and he's like, screw that. He ended up heading down the ridge, and as my buddy's getting down from his tree stand to track that deer he shot, it crossed right underneath him. And he was like, dude, I should have held out. I'm like, no, it's your first deer.
Yeah.
And so then we wait a little longer, and coming the opposite way of what I was used to them working. They were usually working east to west, and then winding from the south, or winding north, that south wind. This one came from west to east, and so it started going the other way towards my like favorite buck bedding area, which means he was probably out all day looking for does, just not around me. And I just saw a glimpse of antlers through the CRP, and I was like immediately like, oh my god. I was like, that's the biggest buck I've seen on a hunt in my life. And I grunted like just a couple of contact grunts, just because I knew he was going to make it across that field before he was going to come by me. And his head just turned on a swivel, and I was like, I got to get the camera on. And I didn't know this, but there was a branch in front of the camera that caused it to be out of focus.
I just saw giant tines in the field. And I grunted one time and he just came on a freaking beeline over to me. That's why the smaller one, like, putting this thing in the ground. And he just came on a beeline over to me. And I thought he spotted me with a full draw. He was like a hard quartering too, and that was the only shot I was gonna get. I freaking like the stupid sound my freaking bow makes was like freaking right in, straight through him. I saw him bound out, and I saw him like bound out and back into the CRP. He bounded back into the CRP, and then he kind of slowed down, and then I lost him. I'm like, really, God, bro, it's a fucking giant, dude, it's a fucking giant, bro. I don't know, but he's so tall and wide. Oh my God, there's a stick right in the view of this shot. Damn it. Oh my God.
But he started coming in slowly, just like I planned, and he was looking around for that other buck, which made a lot of sense because the one ran off that ended up going to my friend as he was getting down because he knew that something else was going to probably kick his ass if he came over. Mm-hmm. And so he was looking to kick another buck's ass. And I could tell he had a snapped off G2, and he was just like a total fighter. And he came in and he stops at about 20 yards with a bunch of cover, and I draw, and he's not looking at me. And he comes in a little further, and he stops perfectly in front of that branch that's blocking the camera view. And he's a hard quartering too. I didn't make any noise to stop him, but I knew he was trying to look at me because I was kind of sticking out and like dating a fat chick, basically. And I put one right behind his shoulder, and right as I shot, he sank and turned toward me. For my practice, I knew I put the arrow right where I wanted, but I didn't know how bad he really jumped the string. And of course, this is an old bow, so it's like doing as it shoots, and I see him go off, and I see him bound through the field, and he stops, and then he continues on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got him. I was so hyped, and
Are you a little worried about when he stopped and then ran off yet?
yeah, so I didn't know what to think because I shoot Montex. I'm not obviously I don't have any affiliation with them, but I shoot like anything I can get with cut on contact, and I've had them literally walk away after shooting them. Like if I get a really clean hit, I'm not hitting any ribs. I've had them just walk away like nothing happened and then just die like instantly. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is one of these cases where he just stopped, walked a few yards, and died. And I was like, I put that arrow right where I wanted to, so I figured that's what happened. And so I got down about an hour later after calling my buddy and freaking out because this is the biggest buck I've ever seen, and I just killed him. And lifelong dream fulfilled in that moment. And there's a lot of emotion in the video, I'm sure you'll see. But so we get down, and I look for the arrow, and I can't find it. And I was like, oh well, like I'm not gonna look too hard. I'm not gonna jump a buck if I can't. And then we went and tracked my buddy's deer. I ended up passing it on the way to his tree. So I kind of let him follow that blood trail, and I got good video of him. And I was like, oh, there's a couple really good splotches up there, and I'm pointing the deer, and he's still looking down, so he can't see it. So he nearly kicks the thing before he gets it, and he was in tears, man. It was and I was too. It was awesome.
I see some up there further. Some blood up there.
To the left?
There's some right up there.
Oh yeah, that was a great job.
Yeah. Well, he's got to be close.
That was a really good job.
That's a pretty big blob. You see that one? See the blob up there? Meet at the deer, why don't we?
No kidding.
Let's fucking go!
Yeah, buddy.
Congrats, bro! Look at this thing! Nice, dude. He's an 8-point. Nice, dude. Nice, bro. Give me some. Yeah.
We got him. We got him.
It's right here. Let's freaking go, dude.
It was awesome, but we went up to my deer where I shot it, and we found the arrow, but there was about that much that was snapped off and still inside the deer, and then the rest of the arrow was sitting on the ground. And so we were like, no, there's no way, it's dead. And we started tracking, we couldn't find much, so we backed out. And watching the video over and over again, I could see all that arrow sticking out, and there's a part where, it's out of focus, but hits a pine tree and you can see the arrow snap off. And I was like, oh no. I was like, this is bad. We called a bunch of dog trackers, and they said they wouldn't take up the trail. They said there's no way that deer's dead, and if it is dead, we probably won't do you much good. You're not finding a whole lot of blood, and it's a dew-wick night. You're not gonna, that deer's far away, and it's gonna cost you a lot of money that you don't have to, get this deer.
So you let them get in your head a little bit.
I did, and my friends were like, you gotta look for it, and I was like, that's the right thing to do. You can't shoot something and not, at least do grid searching for a few days. And it was really preaching that to my friend that, made me go back to it and say, I gotta practice what I preach. And so we went out there the next day.
So what'd you think? You thought you had shoulder?
Oh, I thought it was, yeah, I thought I had shoulder, and I thought there was no way. Just the way, I thought from the way he jumped, and it's hard because you couldn't see it on camera, I thought from the way he jumped, I just put in that front side shoulder. And I thought it was over, and I was just, all those things that, the collarbone, the bow, all that's coming back, and it's like, damn, I made a dumb decision, it feels like. And they convinced me to go out, and they're going to be...
A lot of time, all those negatives just keep getting in
Oh,
your
yeah.
head and
Oh, yeah.
play on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not trying to, no offense to you, but you push through a lot of that stuff with some of the shooting and things like that, and that just, you get into an area if you miss, or you don't make a clean shot, and that, as a sportsman that wants to be ethical, you really, it really wears on you, and for you to push on and also show all of the moments where you didn't get the deer, or you lost the track. I tell my buddies that that episode you do where you say, this is where the deer's going to bed in the marsh. I can only be up that high. You go back later in the year. Sure enough, the buck's there. It takes the further trail that you didn't want it to. You make a shot, and you couldn't find it in the end. I tell them every time, it's like, that video would be worse if you found that deer. Because when I'm introducing them to you, I say, this is the skill that this guy has. This is amazing to predict deer like this and to form that understanding. But it's even more amazing that he showed that, and that's in many ways much more real than going out your first time saying this is where the deer's going to bed, being right, and then shooting it right away. If there was ever anything that encompasses deer hunting, there's some things that are out of your hands, and you got to know how to deal with that. And yeah, that's what kept them going through it. And now, sure enough, he gets his first buck and first deer, and it's a nice buck on the same day. But we went back to that track in the morning. We went back to where the arrow was, and it was just looking so bad. And I was like, well, we didn't have blood in the first 50 yards, and I was like, from when I learned scouting, the thick area and the bedding he was headed to is where I think he's going to go. So we started heading there, and we find absolute pinpricks, just, like a millimeter in diameter of blood. And we're finding that just on this CRP on the upper side of the grass, and we weren't even filming it because of how discouraging it was. And we found his first bed, and it was the size of a nickel was the amount of blood in that bed. And I was like, there's no way. But it took us maybe an hour to get 80 yards, and it would be about 100 yards in between every just absolute needle prick of blood. And so we get through the CRP field, we find where he cuts into the woods, and it's thick and nasty, and we're starting to lose blood. And I said, well, there's a few trails he could have gone on. He could go to this bedding area that has a good thermal and would monitor where he got shot from. So I said, I'm gonna go there. My buddy Cam, who was the one that shot his first buck, said, Cam, you keep following this blood, and just keep trying to find some stuff. And I said, Alex, you just start following trails, and you try to stick to those trails, like wherever you think he's gonna go if he's hurting. And we're gonna keep going like this. So I went out to this bedding area, and I get there, and my heart just sank. Like, he wasn't there, and I was like, if he's anywhere, he's got to be here. I was like, if this deer's hurting and he's laying up, he's right here. And all of a sudden, I hear my buddy about a quarter mile away go, oh my God. And I'm like, they're messing with me. I'm like, there's no way in the world, after all this, that this deer has died after a half mile and we haven't even found another bed. And they start screaming my name, and I'm like, you guys are messing with me. I'm yelling back at them. And they're like, really? Because there's a giant buck dead right here. And I start sprinting through this woods. I fall like twice, just ripping through all these briars and thorns and whatnot.
This way.
Bro, it's huge. It's huge. Holy.
Let's fucking go!
Baby! Oh my God. Sklenar, bro, it's fucking huge.
I was just walking around like a total idiot.
Dude,
I'm like,
we're
this
just
is the
looking for
thickest stuff I've ever been in.
My God.
Hey, his eyes are shut though, Sklenar. Just his eyes are shut. Hey, what did the dog tracker say?
Let's go!
The dog tracker said, we aren't tracking your deer, it's still alive. It's a stud.
Oh my God.
We've been tracking forever.
Oh my God. Put your hands on that deer, dog.
We have tracked this for so long.
He's got the
We
snap
put in the work.
Oh my
God.
Okay, we're calling Mr. Sklenar now. Ending the video. I'm calling your dad.
My legs are shaking looking at that thing.
I'm shaking.
You deserve that, buddy.
Fine, bud. Mr. Sklenar, put on the larded onions. We're gonna gut you a buck.
Really?
Yep, the dog tracker said they wouldn't take the track because they couldn't find it. Well, I just found a giant buck laying in the woods.
We followed pinpricks for over a half a mile.
It's a 10-pointer.
He's got a snapped off G2.
He would have found that thing in no time.
Well, I guess my nose was
Wow.
better than blood.
I'm like emotional just thinking about it. Like, my two best buddies sitting there finding my deer after all that, and it's to many people it's not a very giant buck. It's with Snap G2 it's maybe a 120, 125. Like, but it might not even be that. But it was just the best. Trophy doesn't even do it justice. Like, it was just the most full experience and fulfilling time of my life. And I tackled my buddy and I put him to the ground and we were all hugging and stuff, and I put my hands on it, and it was just like one of the best moments of my life, hunting or not. Phenomenal to find that deer like that and to have it happen with my best friends, and I almost prefer it working out. Oh, I definitely prefer it working out like that looking back, but it was cool that we had a night to celebrate my buddy's deer, and we got to clean that up and get it ready for a Euro mount that he's got now. And it was a very hard night for me, and they took a lot of funny videos of me being upset. But to find it with them in that emotional way was just the total exclamation point on the, get through the suffering and you'll succeed journey that we were on.
So what was the big lesson about going after that deer? Just staying with it?
Yeah, I would definitely say perseverance. I think it's like, it's definitely gonna be perseverance. It's like you gotta battle through a whole bunch of stuff in life, and we talked about wrestling a lot, but you gotta battle through all sorts of stuff in deer hunting too. And you aren't gonna grow unless you, like say all right, well, you got me that time, but now I'm going to come back and get you. And, you know, it was 3 years that I've kind of been on this journey, and we even had this buck on trail camera before he snapped off his antler. And 3 years of wondering, am I hunting the right style right now? Because, you know, you see less deer, but the one you might see might be a really nice one. And it was slowly just like putting in the work, doing your off-season scouting, doing everything you can, and when you get a lump, fight through it. Like, don't give up, you know, don't let the bad things get to you. And it's every time that you face that failure, that victory is just going to taste that much sweeter.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you like what we're doing, spread the word. Share the videos. Subscribe. Tell your friends. See ya.